Hey guys, if you're here, you know I'm live. I don't know if anybody's here. You have to say something. Anyway, we'll give it a minute. Oh, somebody's here. So I haven't done a live broadcast since 2017, maybe. So it's been a long time. Hey, Lisa. It's been a long time since I did a live, and I wasn't exactly sure how the new YouTube live broadcasting gizmo works. So I thought I would test it before we do any live chats. And I might hang out for a while. But yeah, starting to come out of sort of live streaming mothballs. I wonder if there's a way. What is this little arrow? Let's see. Oh, sharing. Oh, look at that. Facebook. I know nothing about going live in the new thing. So let's see. Let's put it over in the art group and not for the general public. Let's see, post to Facebook. We'll see what happens. Hey, Laura. Those of you who have gone live since YouTube changed things around know how things are working. I have no idea. I will say so far, I think this is easier. Let's see. Can I adjust the camera so you don't? Not that you guys all mind seeing all the room behind me, but let's see. Let's take off the autofocus because it going in and out, in and out, in and out is going to drive you all crazy. Oh, yeah, look at that. Hello. Close up on my face. All right, that works. Figured out how to share at the bottom. Okay, so that works. Nice. Everything seems to work. Yay! Oh, I can't believe it. This might be easier than I thought. Now I just have to figure out where I put the extending cable for the webcam. Otherwise, we're doing live streams at the computer desk. By the way, we're at the computer desk. That's the art table right there behind me. That's the sewing desk. And then there's a third desk, which is supposed to be my husband's desk where he does his models and miniatures. Don't tell him I put all my resin stuff over there. Shh. Whoops, where are we? I took over his desk over that way. I'm going to hang out for a while. It's like an unplanned sort of live stream, and I haven't done one in a while, so we'll just hang out and chat. I've got a bunch of magazines on my desk I need to go through, so I picked up this one a while back, if no one's seen it, which is sort of analytical, but it's an interesting read. It's by Time Magazine. It has some interesting articles and images in it. I probably bought it for the images, to be fair. I ended up sitting down one evening and reading the whole thing, which was really fascinating, but it's got some great images in it, like that one. And this one. And then, wait, the one I know I bought it for, the images I know I bought it for. Let's see. Da Vinci's in here. So I'm going to go through that one. And then I have a magazine. It's my friend Michelle Mitchell's fault. This one is her fault. She told me about this magazine, and I have 2 copies of this magazine, 2 issues of this magazine. I actually ended up with 2 copies of this particular one. This is the copy I kept. I sent the other one off to a friend. This is a really great magazine if you enjoy quilting and slow stitching. And this one I'm probably not going to tear apart. I'm probably just going to add it to my sort of magazine reference library as just a complete reference tool. I love Lisa's post too. Lisa had a post today with some quotes. about narcissists, and I loved her post. I did reach out and ask her to make sure she was okay, but yeah, I loved her post. The other magazine I subscribed to because I found it at the local library here in Oregon where I live, and I love this. And more often than not, they have articles by Danny Gregory, who, if you don't know who that is, he has a number of books on daily drawing. I'm a fan of his. And I subscribe to this magazine. I'm going to just make sure I cover up my address, but it's called Artist Magazine. Again, lots of really great articles. The first time I picked one up, I picked it up because I wanted to just look at the pictures. They were selling a copy. I thought I'll just tear some of the photos out to add to my reference books. And then I ended up reading the whole thing cover to cover. So those are some of my favorite current things that are on my desk that I need to. Some of these I'm going to keep because the Artist Magazine, some have articles from Danny Gregory in it, some don't. I'm going to keep the ones that do, and I'm going to take apart the ones that don't. I really should have my glasses on. I can't see what I'm doing. Does anybody have any questions? There's 3 people here. Somebody is silently in the background. Whoever you are, welcome. If you have any questions, let me know. This new layout on YouTube is nice because I used to have to do the broadcast on one device and then have my iPad or something else on the table with the chat. And in this new thing, I can see everything. That's good. I just had a thought. I should probably turn the volume down on my phone so that it doesn't like ring in the middle. No questions? So surprised. So for those that don't know, I moved in 2018 from California to Oregon. This is my new art space, in case you didn't know. How is everybody doing with the whole apocalypse thing? Are you still able to manage through using your creativity as a tool to stay calm and semi-sane? I mean, I say that tongue in cheek. I'm not exactly what you'd call sane most days. So I try, but times are tough right now, right? We lost a viewer. So this is interesting. Let's see. I can put it over here. So you can do it while you're doing the broadcast and you're coming over here. We'll just post it everywhere. We'll see what happens. What, am I going to get a YouTube troll? Like, hello. Quietly waiting for the second wave. Yeah, I don't think we're out of the first one yet. I'm right there with you. I don't know. And every time I see somebody, in public that doesn't want to do what they need to do, it's frustrating. Yeah, poor Lisa is in California, and California is having a hard time of it. Oregon's stuck between California and Washington State, both states who have had a hard time with it. And I think Oregon's in a little bit of a panic because things are on the uptick up here. Thank you, Lisa. If I'm going to do these lives, I've got to, we've got 4 people. I've got to rethink the whole process and the admins. I did make a thumbnail. Let me know what you think about the title on the thumbnail. Yeah, Laura, I'm having issue with that. I'm getting really, and I don't mean to make anybody mad. We're here for art chat and creativity, but the apocalypse that's going on is part of life right now. I'm getting really tired of people saying I can't wear a mask because I have asthma. I'm asthmatic with anxiety disorder and sensitive skin. Hello. This flared up again when I started having to wear a mask again. So I don't want to hear it. There may be a reason that you need to not wear a mask, but then maybe you ought to not go out and you ought to have somebody else do it for you. That's, there are people that can't do that. But if you can wear a mask, please don't use asthma as an excuse, because that's not a great one. Yeah, I know. Lisa, I have a great nephew. It's a scary thing to say, but yes, I have a great nephew. He's the cutest little baby, and I can't see him. I can't see my parents. Literally, dad. Um, well, it's a really short story, but dad left his car here for a while. And when he came back to pick it up, we literally had to like throw the keys at him in the driveway. So yeah, masks are mandatory in the state of Oregon, and they're kind of cracking down. And if you don't wear the mask or don't mandate it in your business, they're going to start. It's going to be a legal consequence. People are being reported to OSHA, and yeah, it's really okay. So apocalypse jokes. How sad is it that date night is at the grocery store? I didn't like going to the grocery store before this. So, that was a thing. And, I don't mind cleaning and cooking, but holy cow. My husband asked me the other night, what's for dinner? I said, something I don't have to cook. We made pot pies for dinner last night, and I made 8 of them because I was like, I don't want to have to, I want to just make stuff and have it in the freezer. Again, I don't mind cooking, but it's just, yeah. And not being able to go pick out your art supplies, like that's a thing. You need fabric, or you need, I don't know, pens. My gray highlighter pen is running out of ink. It's drying up. And so, normally I would run down to the local stationery store and pick up what they had. And, can't do that. Most of the time up here, they're not even open. Yeah, we are starting to get a little bit braver about getting takeout. Every now and then we try to find the local mom and pops that need the business. And we have a couple of favorites. And I think one day this week, we're going to get some from our favorite Chinese food place. It's actually right around the corner from the house. So yeah, I am going to probably do 1 or 2 lives this month. Probably maybe with my face, if you want to chat about art, maybe at the art desk. Art there at the art desk, doing some stitching. What would you all like to see? Let me know. Yeah, and just the friends and family that you can't see in person and you can't hug, like hugging people, shaking their hands. We had new appliances delivered yesterday. Okay, so our washing machine decided in the middle of coronavirus to die and have a giant leak. So we bought a new washer and dryer, and we bought it not looking at them, just by looking at it online. And then having the credit card company decline it because they weren't sure it was really us. And then them calling and saying, yes, it's us. Okay, here's a code. Go back and do it again. We'll allow the purchase. Like, it was just a whole thing. And then to have the delivery people show up yesterday and deliver it and not be able to normally I would thank them and shake their hands. And you can't do any of that. And I did make sure to tip them, but it was like hold the edge of the money. And, it was just a whole process that's just really hard to get used to. Yeah, I love a good hamburger. My husband did some for 4th of July, and he got enough meat to make extra. And so we finished that up on Monday. So that was good. There are 2 more of you here out there somewhere. It would be great if you say hi in the chat. Of course, you don't have to. And this is a test for those that are new to my channel or my lives. I haven't been live on Facebook since I don't remember when. I'm guessing 2017, maybe. Last time I was live, it was with Google Hangout. If that tells you anything. Stitching, watercolor, and mixed media. Okay. So Watercolor a day videos, fun fact, are filmed ahead, and I am filmed through the 20th. I have 10 more to do. I am thinking of it is a 30 and 30 challenge that I did for myself. I was going to actually start it in June. I'm actually thinking of doing the last one on the last day of the month live. So I'm thinking, but yeah, stitching is definitely going to be a thing. And finding stitching supplies. We have an art chat in Facebook. Lisa Swank and Laura are both members of that chat, and a lot of us are stitching and or doing other similarly liked projects, and we're sharing with each other when we find a source for books or thread or something. But picking out fabric is still something I want to do in person, and I'm having trouble doing it over the computer. And hey, I'm having trouble doing it over the computer. I'm having trouble when I do go into the liquor stores, because that's a whole other conversation. Hey Terry, hey Sue. When I do go into the local fabric stores, because of the coronavirus and then not being able to restock and being sold out of all the cottons because of mask making, it's just so hard to find supplies. And so I found other Etsy store owners that have stuff, and I've put some packages of stuff on my store. Terry bought one. I have a lot of fabric. I have a lot of trims. I'm constantly painting fabric or paper or something. And so it's time to share. The joke in my house is I'm going to pass away someday, hopefully not anytime soon. And this room is still going to be full like you see it now. And my daughter's going to dig me up and go, "What the F, Mom?" Because she's going to just not know what to do with this. And we only have the one kid. So yeah, she's going to be a little angry. That's okay. I won't be here. But yeah, it's hard to find supplies. And when you find, good sources for thread and fabric or paint and mediums, online that you can order, and it doesn't take forever to get in. I think that's a good thing. There is a lot of places in the UK. Sue Hennessy says, "Hiya from the UK." There's a lot of places in the UK that I would love to order something like linen buttons or silk thread or something from, but it just takes forever to get here, or the shipping right now is even more expensive. So yeah, we do have a couple of art chats over in Facebook where we share sources for supplies and materials right now, because things are hard to get, as you all know. So if you guys want to, if you're part of my Facebook group, A Life of Art and Self-Expression, let's go in there and let's share, maybe start a document where we have good sources for online for supplies and materials. Amazon's fine. I am an Amazon fan. I've been a member at Amazon since day one, but Amazon's not the be all end all. So, and I love supporting the small mom and pops over in Etsy. I did order some stuff directly from DMC during this process because I ran out of some embroidery floss. Nobody sent me embroidery floss. So you all have done that already, and I have too much now. But I was out of some things at one point, and that took 2 months, I think, to get in, and that was in New York. Hey, New Zealand, how are you? This was just a spur of the moment kind of thing I've honestly been putting off because I haven't done hold on. I haven't done a live in a long time. So this is a spur of the moment thing. So it's nice to see you all here. I haven't looked yet, Laura. I was going to message you and ask you if you really sent me an email link, because I do that before I open anything. There are some really great slow stitching artists out there. In my day, we just called it hand sewing, but I didn't know they called it slow stitching until the apocalypse started. And then I discovered the whole world of slow stitching. And Anne Brooke, textile artist, here on YouTube. If you haven't watched her, check her out. Go Google her name, Anne Brooke. She's fabulous. And I love the idea of just sitting down with a piece of fabric and just getting lost. I turn on the music. I'll show you all something. Let's see. Okay. Okay, good. I will check it out, Laura. So this is an art journal I made a long time ago. Pretty sure I made it and not somebody else, but I do have a lot of these. Okay, so fun fact, during the whole apocalypse thing, I've discovered, okay, nobody shoot me. I don't really enjoy making junk journals. So I do have some junk journaling stuff and mixed media stuff because I do like doing some mixed media pages, but actually putting together a junk journal is not my thing. And when you do see me do them, this is why I'm pretty sure I did this one, because you'll see a mixed media cover like this, but then the pages are blank. And when I do work in junk journals, it's usually one that a friend made me. I do have a few of those. This is one I'm working in. I pulled it out of the closet. I'm calling it my meditation journal. So on especially stressful days, I will sit and I will start with a piece of fabric. These are some fabrics I have pulled out as inspiration for the next page. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use. And I'll sit down, and these are about 6 by 6. I'll start with one for the background, and then I'll add different fabric scraps, maybe a yo-yo. In the UK, you call it a Suffolk puff, I think. I'll add some lace trim. I'll add buttons, whatever I have laying around. I have baskets of vintage things and some embroidery stitches. I usually always add a word or a phrase. Like here's one. These are 3 that I have picked out. I am not sure which one I'm going to use, but this one, these are all, printed on fabric. Open your eyes. This one says, I do have my reading glasses on my head. What does this one say? Experiment. Oop. And then this one says own it. I just kind of like the own it. Yes, Suffolk puffs. And so I will just sit down and I'll work on the fabric until I feel like it's done. Fun fact, I rarely use a hoop. I do occasionally, but not often. So usually when I'm done, I have to give it a good press. And then I use a nice fabric or archival glue like fabric tack. And I glue it in. So these are the first like 4 pages I have in here. And you can see there's no rhyme or reason. I'm not trying to create a certain picture. I'm just using a couple of easy stitches like running stitch and French knots. Yeah, I don't think so. Sorry, my phone started ringing. Running stitch, French knots, blanket stitch, sometimes seed stitch. And then this one. This one, I saw a piece of fabric that was some new fabric I got in an ad online from Mood Fabrics, which I have. We'll talk about Mood Fabrics. Y'all like slow stitching. Hold on. And I was going to order a swatch of the fabric. And I thought, well, before I do that, I have all this stuff here. I grabbed a piece of canvas. It actually was a little bit bigger than the pieces I normally put in here, but that's okay. And I sat with a needle and a pin, and I pulled out where these blue stripes are, this here. I pulled out some of the threads from the fabric. That's how come you have these lines here of the threads. And then after I was done with the whole piece, I wove some ribbon in here. And then in between, I used a couple of different kinds of yarns that my friends have sent me. And I created that page. And then, of course, I added just B at the bottom. And then this is the one I've done most recently. I don't always film them, but I do sometimes. And if you guys want to see more of that, let me know. I do actually have it on my to-do list, which, I've been busy purging and not working on the to-do list. Okay, let's look at the chat here. I'm wanting to do this type of journals. I'm not sure how to get started. Yeah, so this sort of meditation journal, it's really easy to get started. Just get started. So I know that's flippant a little bit. So what you want to do, depending, I don't like working in big, huge journals. That's a me thing. You have to find, if you've been doing mixed media or even scrapbooking or painting in a journal, then you already probably have an idea which one is the one that you gravitate towards most, that you grab most of the time. Is it the big, huge journal? Is it the 5x7? Is it the little square one? Is it the Moleskine Cahier? What size is the one that you gravitate towards? Because that's the size of journal that you want to do a meditation journal in. And I'm looking kind of this way and not at the camera because the chat's over there, just FYI. Mine is just a little bit bigger than 6x6. I like smaller journals. So I start with one of these squares that's 6x6. These are pre-cut. You can buy stacks of these that are pre-cut from quilting shops in store, in person, or online. Charm packs, I think they're called. And these are 6x6 charm pack. And I will just start with this. I know whatever I put on here is going to fit on my journal page. I usually never have a plan. I just start with, I have a box of scraps. Where's my box of scraps? It usually looks like this. This is just one box of scraps. The only problem with slow stitching is once you get started, it's hard to throw any scraps away. This is the issue. So I will just start grabbing things out of my scrap pack, like literally just start seeing what shapes, colors, and shades I like on there. I will arrange them in a way that I like. Okay, like this one is too long, so I would do this. Yeah, I would probably literally tear it. I'm not worried about the extra threads and hangover because I don't mind if it's messy. I would find hey, Aunt Beck, I would find a composition of background colors and pattern that appeal to me, knowing this is just the beginning. And I would baste everything together with running stitch. Once everything is in place where I want, then I go back and think about adding yo-yos or buttons or beads, seed beads. Oops. This is the fabric journal I've been doing that's like Anne Brooke. And so here's a good page. So like this. So I did all the background first, got it all stitched down. Then I went back and I added, these are from some trim. This is a piece of ribbon. It looks like a tape measure. It's not really. I added some paper piecing. I added a word. Of course, I added a word, some buttons. So I always do the background fabrics first, and I don't take the basting stitches out. You can see them they're right there. I do usually use complementary threads so that while they're there, they're not really super obvious. But I just think it adds to the texture of the background and the interest of the piece. And sometimes I do more of it. Sometimes I do less of it. And it really just comes together with the embroidery and the embellishments that you put on it. And then once you have it done and you're in a place with it that you really love, then I give it a good press and then I glue it in to this book. Now this one's done differently in that this book is all fabric. And so it's done on quilting batting. I will say this is fun. This is fun too, but this is easier because you just work on a little piece of fabric And you can take the little piece of fabric if you needed to, like downstairs, and work in front of the TV and just do some stitching. And it's really easy to work on this. It's a little hard sometimes. Those of you who are doing a book know to get like into the middle here and to deal with like the rest of the book especially when it gets bulky. Yeah, so I'm using, unfortunately in life, people we know and love pass away. And if I know a number of you are like me, there's always little bits and pieces nobody else in the family wants. And so you find that you take them home. And then you have collections of things. I must have every kind of doily on the planet. I haven't made any in years. But I find now, whether it's the doilies or some tatted lace that my great grandmother made that I didn't have the heart to throw away, but I didn't know what to do with, I'm using it in my slow stitching and in my fabric journals. And it's great that we have those and we don't always have to go buy new stuff. Lisa is saying that Tuesday Morning has pre-cut fabric. So yeah, a lot of places, if they sell quilting fabric, they'll have these charm packs. And I don't remember which one this is, but if you all want me to, I can list which one it is in my Facebook group. I don't remember. I think this is the one I got on Amazon. So slow stitching, Tanaya, is it Tanaya? Hopefully I said that right. Holy cow. Slow stitching is just hand sewing. And it's combining hand stitching and traditional hand sewing with embroidery and maybe a little bit of cross stitch or crewel work. And it's just hand sewing. So this is an example of, and this is just about ready to have the cover put on it, but this is an example of a couple of pages in my slow stitch journal. And what I'm finding, and I think a lot of you are too, is being in the position worldwide that we're in, not being able to or not feeling safe going out to go do things, whether it's going on a drive or going to the beach or it's going to the store. I'm finding that it's making me want to, of course, revisit happier times. Look at projects and art styles and techniques that I've laid aside for a long time and revisit them. It's very therapeutic. I find because I've been sewing for so long, which I'll talk about in a second, it's something I don't really have to think about. And those things that you don't really have to think about and you can just mentally let go of everything else. You can turn on some music. You can just sit and do some stitching. If you're doing this kind of stitching, it doesn't have to look neat. It doesn't have to be pretty on the back. My grandmother always was on my case because my embroidery should look the same on the back as the front, she said. Mine never did. Just FYI. This is what the back looks like on these, and that's like the neatest I ever get. But these two pages at some point are going to get sewn together, so you won't even see it. Yes, I will. I'll send you a friend request when we're done here. I don't know if can I do it? Like maybe I can do it at the same time. Let's see. Looking at your picture. Hold on. Yep, that's you. Friend request sent. I also have a Facebook book group for those that don't know, A Life of Art and Self-Expression. I've had it since I don't even know when, a long time. 2011, 2008. I don't know. I've had it a long time. Anyway, that is where you can share your video links. You can share your favorite online places to get supplies, because I know that's something we're all having a problem doing, is keeping stocked up. If you have some good friends you trust on the internet, you can maybe trade fabric scraps with them to do slow stitching. Unfortunately, it means you don't throw scraps away because you might need it for a project. But I mean, the scraps can be this small. I do sell occasionally some fabric scraps in my shop. of things I don't think I'm going to use anymore. But yeah, these are, okay, this fabric I'm looking for, if anybody sees that, if you see it at your local quilting shop, if you can get in. I don't know. I can't find it. But yeah, it means that you can use little scraps, and it's kind of fun to exchange with a couple of friends because they have a different selection of stuff that you do. Tuesday morning. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I like buying, when I do buy quilting cottons. Okay, so we were going to talk about my sewing. So I grew up, my grandmother on both sides and my great grandmothers on both sides all were sewists and needlework artists. That's not what they called themselves, but trust me, they were. My dad's grandmother, who was Italian, and didn't speak any English or read any English, could look at a picture in a crochet or tatting magazine and make you that thing that was in that picture without the instructions. I can't do that. But because of that, I started very early sewing and knitting and crocheting and doing embroidery. And so I've done that since I can remember. I remember my grandmother sitting me down at her dining room table because I wanted to learn how to do crochet edging. And she said, well, let's do a handkerchief, because that was a thing then. And she said, first you have to hem the handkerchief. And of course we couldn't hem it on the machine. We had to hem it by hand. And the corners had to be mitered, and it had to be neat, and the stitches had to be invisible. And then we could go do the blanket stitch around the edge, and then we could do the crocheted lace around the edge. So when we started with this worldwide thing that we're having going on, of course, all of that came back, and I was like, I've got all this, still have all this sewing stuff around and crochet thread, and let's use it, and let's see if there's some kind of new to me process that we can use for it. And I discovered slow stitching, and of course shared it with all my friends, and they're like, oh yeah. Sorry guys. But yeah, back in the day, I was a seamstress and fabric cutter for Chuck E. Cheese. I made the bodies for the robotic characters. I've also done my share of bridal sewing. I don't do anymore because brides are not fun to work for. Chuck E. Cheese was fun, but to this day, I still hate gray fake fur. I would come home covered, and it was just everywhere. Yeah, I do quilts, but not often and not big ones. I usually do little ones, and I did start a quilt top a while ago when we first moved, and it's hanging in the closet. And I think that's going to be one of my next big projects, is finishing that little quilt. I admire the people who have the stamina to start a quilt and finish a quilt, because yeah, I get bored. You're welcome very much. And it is a safe place on the internet to share your links, your store stuff. I ask people to please read the code of conduct, and basically just be nice. And as long as you be nice, and we don't get too far into things we shouldn't over in the group, it's all good. Yeah, I think the last quilt I finished, Aunt Beck, was probably for my daughter. She's 25. So it was a long time ago. I don't think I've finished a quilt since then. And we still have it somewhere. It was a teddy bear applique on the top of the quilt, and the teddy bear had bunny slippers on. So one of these days I'm going to have to dig it out, and I'm going to have to get a picture. Yeah. So I have a where are we? Right there. That's a FOF machine. It's a basic one, a 1546, I think. And then I have a serger next to it. You can see a 4-thread overlock. Fun fact, it's a Simplicity serger. It's from like one of these companies where you make payments towards the machine. I think the original purchase price was like $150 back in the day. I bought it right after I had my daughter. She's 25 years old. I still have it. The FOF was expensive. I was doing a lot of bridal sewing at the time, and I had to make payments on it, but it's lasted. You don't need fancy, expensive machines. You can just, whatever your budget is. If the budget's really small, go to the thrift shops. I was talking to Lisa Swank recently. Especially, I know in California, up here in Oregon, where I'm living now, I haven't had a chance to research it too much, but our sewing machine repair stores used to have a decent selection of used machines that they had fixed and then they were selling. Sometimes they picked them up at junk shops. Sometimes customers came in to get them repaired and they never picked them up, and they would sell them to get their money back on that. And it was a great place to get a really good machine for a decent price, always. Also for fabric, I'm seeing a lot of chatter come up about fabric. So fabric, you know what? I just went to the thrift store not long ago, my first time since like January. I don't know how often I'm going to be going because, yeah, that was stressful. But I bought a few men's shirts in really cool plaid fabrics. I don't think there's any scraps here on the table. And I cut them up when I got home. It was nice cotton fabric and it was a really good print. And I only paid a couple bucks each shirt. I washed them as soon as they came in the house. And yeah, it was all good. So you don't have to have fabric. And also don't forget to look at it. Estate sales, garage sales, and, check in on like Facebook Marketplace. And maybe if you're signed up on Nextdoor, the neighborhood bulletin board site, a lot of times in there, you'll see people selling off their fabric stash, or you can post something. Secondhand shops, and you don't have to look for fabric. Just look for clothes with interesting fabric and interesting pattern. Don't pay too much for it because you're going to cut it up. But I mean, men's shirts, I usually go right for the men's shirt department, especially when I'm low on some of the plaid fabrics, which I don't know why that's a thing with me right now, but it just really is. I don't know. And sewing is not hard. It really isn't. The hardest thing about sewing is don't stick your fingers under the presser foot, under the needle. Sewing your finger doesn't feel good. Guess how I know that? I've done it twice, all the way through my thumb. Yes, secondhand shops are, it depends on the shop. I have Value Village is pretty good about making all the customers wear a mask and being clean. But even so, I can't say it's not stressful to go. But I would pick some that you like going to. We have a really good Goodwill has been, at least where I'm living, Goodwill has been really good about doing what they need to keep the customers safe and making sure the stuff is clean. And so so has Value Village. So I can't say the same thing is probably true about all of them, but secondhand shops are usually really good. And a lot of them, because of what's going on with the virus worldwide, have online sites. So, wow, we've been talking for 43 minutes. I talk a lot. Holy cow. Yeah, Sue. So I would say, check like, for instance, Goodwill. Goodwill has a website, and they always have, where you can buy stuff online, and you can buy blocks of fabric, blocks of thread, and y'all shouldn't forget about eBay, but also Etsy. I found a lot of really great little mom and pop sites. A couple of them were fabric stores that had to close their doors when the virus hit. And the only way they had to stay in business and sell their fabric was through their Etsy site. That is so great, Aunt Beck. I'm not old enough for the senior discount yet. I'm getting close though. I've just decided to let my hair go gray. I'm just done. I had a whole bunch of it cut off the bottom. So yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun revisiting, things that I left set aside. I still love watercolor, and we're doing the watercolor a day for 30 days in July. So I'm filming those ahead. So we're filmed until the 20th. I've got to do 10 more. And I have had one video where I've incorporated watercoloring into slow stitching. You know, if you've done mixed media and collage, you can do slow stitching. And this is just hand sewing. You don't have to have a sewing machine. Oh, okay. Well, that's good on you. I can't say that in Oregon. I'm one of the 3 hardest hit counties in Oregon. So things are sort of open, but sort of not really. And somebody said before that they, oh, Tanaya, you have a Bernina and you only use it for sewing up the crotch in your husband's pants. Yeah, that sounds familiar. For a long time, all I did was mending. So, you know, and if his pants got too bad, then I would make denim aprons out of them for using in the art room, which I still have one of. But yeah, yeah. I get tired of mending blue jeans. Just make sure you have a denim needle and it'll be fine. And my husband and I just cleaned out the closet. So that's something else. Are we the only ones like cleaning out closets because we're stuck in? But we clean out closets, and then for a while we had no place to donate anything. So we had this bag of clothes and downstairs and stuff in the garage. I did make sure I went through it before I donated the bag because I wanted to make sure there was nothing in there that I could like sneak out and cut up before he could notice. Yeah, Walmart's completely wiped out up here. It's best if you're going to sew denim to use a denim needle. It's stronger, thicker, and sharper than a regular needle. Hi, Linda. It's stronger, thicker, and sharper than a regular needle. So if you use a denim needle, you're less likely to have your needles break mid-stitch. And the other thing you should do when you're sewing, besides keeping your fingers out of the way, because I have sewn my fingers twice, so I'll tell you what not to do because I've done it already. The other thing you want to probably do is, if you can, and it's not too big a deal, put on a pair of glasses. So for me, I'm an age that I need reading glasses almost all the time. So I usually have these, and when I'm at the sewing machine, these work. And when I didn't have these, I had safety glasses because sometimes the needles will break and they will pop off, and I've gotten hit in the eye. That's a bad thing. Yeah, an embroidery needle on your machine will also work. I wouldn't use a regular sewing needle. I would use a denim or embroidery needle, something really sharp and thick. This is kind of fun. Anybody else have any questions? I forgot how fun this was. Yes, they do make them for machines and also for hand stitching. I like really long, thick hand sewing needles unless I'm doing the English paper piecing where you're sewing the hexagons together like this. Then I find I get out one of my small thin sewing needles and to sew them together. And you'll notice there's like threads. Yep, I don't mind them. I just put them there. Okay, see you later, Laura. So yeah, years ago, one of the first videos I put out was a video on how to make the denim aprons. You probably can find it by doing a search here on YouTube. How to make an apron out of a pair of jeans. And jean material is great for use in the art room, but Sue, it doesn't do you any good if it's still jeans. But believe me, I feel you. I feel your pain. If you've been following me on social media, you know I discovered, as part of everything that was happening, a stash of cross-stitch kits that honestly I knew were in here somewhere. I knew when we moved, I got tired of purging stuff, so I just packed everything. So I knew they were here somewhere, but I kind of misplaced them. But then I started slow stitching and started having to dig things out and rearrange things a little bit so I could find stuff. And I found not only two different stashes of embroidery hoops, which I passed some on to some friends because that was just too many. But I found all the cross stitch kits, and most of them had never been done. One of them is Popcorn Bear. Does anybody know who Popcorn Bear is? That I meant to do when my daughter was like little. She's 25. So yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, my husband is here. He is working full time at home for the foreseeable future, honestly, even if Oregon does open back up. It's just easier for him to do his job here. He's across the hall. Um, and he's working, and then it's just me, and I'm getting tired of doing dishes and cooking and doing laundry. That was back in, so I started my YouTube channel in 2012. So I think the Denim Apron came out in 2013, maybe. That was a long time ago, Sue. And I get confused on the dates, and I lose my words for things. Not that some of that's new, but I'm just calling it Corona brain because, the Corona thing is not helping. But yeah, if you want to try doing some hand stitching, I would definitely give it a shot. There are some great channels out there. I'm going to be having content about it on my channel every now and then. I'm going to film another meditation journal page, hopefully this week. It's on my list. I've actually been going back to making a list. See, these are all the things I have to do still. I also have a slow stitch art project. I think we might do live. Y'all are going to have to bear with me though, because I think it might take a couple hours to do if we do a live. That's a long time. Or we might have to do 2 lives. Oh, use it up resin. I'm doing that. Laundry is working. I just see 2 things I can cross off. Oh, I'm so glad, Linda. Yeah, filming for a daily art project is really challenging. And I also wanted to film content for the patrons over on Patreon. So, but share with you all on YouTube. So then how do I do that? So it's a logistical issue a little bit. And so I filmed the videos talking, and then for YouTube, I took the sound out and sped them up a little bit. They were fun to film, and they were fun to get back into the practice of doing the little watercolor studies. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I'm finding that the 2 things that are out on my table right now and that don't seem to get put away, that I really am obsessed with, and I don't want to go back to doing anything else at the moment, is slow stitching and watercoloring. And yeah, Sue, it's a long time. It's a long time. Yeah, some of us have been friends and known each other in that YouTube art community and Facebook art community a long time. When we think about it, I mean, it's 2020. It's just crazy. So yeah, and with your watercoloring, Linda, I would give advice that, at least if you're new to it, or you're just getting back in the habit of painting like me, where you kind of set it aside for a little bit, do little studies, because there's no pressure, there's less pressure. Don't, there's a few people out there that are watercolor purists. I'm not one of those. I am a mixed media artist at heart, and a textile artist. I've been called in one of the art groups a visual artist or a visual storyteller, all of which are true. None of it which describe me as somebody who uses one medium and one medium only in any project. That's never anything I do. I've been pouring some resin pieces that I'll be using in slow stitching like the last few days. I've got a box, you can see right there, that box right there. It's full of resin stuff that I've been pouring the last couple days. That I'm going to drill holes with. You can't see it on camera, but over there in the corner past that, like over there is a Dremel drill press. So I'll be sewing some holes in them, and I will be sewing them to some pieces. So my studio was in the garage. It wasn't in the basement in California. There isn't too many houses in California that have a basement, at least where I lived. It's an earthquake issue. But yeah, that was a long time ago. My art studio was in our 2-car garage on those cold concrete floors. but in a big, giant, beautiful space, not too dissimilar to the size of space I'm in now. This is the size of a 2-car garage. And in between, I had a 10 by 10 bedroom. You do not have to have a space this big. You can have a corner of a room. Yeah, I like using my white paint pens, my whiteout pen, my gel pens, my black crystal pen with my watercoloring. It's fun to figure out how to create a unique little piece of art with a few different things. And watercoloring with fabric or on fabric. While it's not my favorite way to watercolor, you can do it, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, my old room was 10 by 10. This one is a lot bigger than that. Any other questions? And yeah, right now, I don't know about you guys, but my tables always look like this. Like it seems like, and you can see, okay, so all of this stuff over here, that little shelf's usually clear at the bottom. That's all watercoloring stuff. This over here is resin. This over here is all the slow stitching. And up until a few minutes ago, the ironing board was covered with stuff. Like it just seems like it's crazy. Hey, Kathy. We've been on for about an hour. I was just going to do a quick test, and then, you know me, I'm chatty Kathy on a good day. And so I just started talking and people started asking questions, and no, that's okay, Sue. No problem. It was a 2-car garage. We didn't have a basement in that house. Some houses in the California area where I was have basements, but not all of them. And as long as people want to chat, I'll be on for a little bit. I mean, what else do I have to do? This. Well, I could work on some stitching, but dishes. I don't want to do the dishes again. Freaking hell. Who else is tired of doing the dishes? Doing the dishes, cooking, anything. So yeah, I make a lot of things with leftovers right now because yeah. So we're still doing, one of the things I think I might do a video on, if you all think you might want to see it, besides stitching and watercoloring, which we will do. And I think we'll do some of these live art chat things. And we'll do, I don't know, 1 or 2 a month, maybe more. And we'll do, maybe one will be stitching, one will be watercoloring. If you all want to know how I'm doing the new daily drawing journal, which I've been sharing on social media, I just started July 1st. Let me know, because that's something we could do a video on. I am going to do more slow stitching videos. It's on the list for this week. I need to do a meditation journal page. I need to do a zombie doll, which is slow stitching technically because they're all hand sewn, and slow stitching art. So since you're all being so patient with me learning this whole going live thing, I'll share a little secret. So if you've been following me on social media, I took one of my paintings that I created a while ago, and I did a slow stitch. I did a slow stitch of the painting. And if you want to see that piece, let me know. I can run into the other room to go get it. Mine are waiting on me. Yeah, dishes. I hate the dishes. Freaking dishes and cleaning the bathroom. I do Cookie Schwartz. I do mixed media. I do a little of everything. One of my questions I dread when people ask you, when they find out you're an artist and they ask you, what kind of art you do? I hate that question because you have to just pick one. I don't like to pick one. I do mixed media. I do watercoloring. I'm also a seamstress and sewist. I can knit and crochet. You walk into your arts and crafts store and you see all the different kinds of art and things there are to do in there. Like most people I know, I've probably done or tried 90%. I don't still do all of it, but I mostly am a painter and mixed media artist and seamstress and sewist. I do the occasional knitting and crochet project, but that's really rare and I usually don't film it. But coming up with mixed media, slow stitching art projects. If you remember when this whole shutdown first happened, I did a few kids art videos, and in one of them we painted this piece. So we're going to turn this piece into a slow stitch. I also was given a Frida Kahlo coffee cup by my daughter recently, and these aren't great pictures. They don't have to be for what I'm going to do with it, but I took a picture of the image off the front of the coffee cup. And I also printed a couple of other photos of Frida Kahlo, which I have here, like this one that I know everybody's seen. I'm going to do a slow stitch of Frida Kahlo. Jane of all crafts. Yeah, you just, like most of us that I know, I am not and ever have been one of those creatives that can just do one thing. And I just embroider. That's all I do. I get bored every 5 minutes. So, I need to have a variety of things I can do. But I will be revisiting doing lives. I don't know how often we're going to do them. It kind of depends on you all and what you all want to see. But if you all want to see lives more than, say, once or twice a month, then, I can probably accommodate that. What day? I don't know. Yeah, let me go. Hang on 1 second. You're going to have to just look at the room. 1 second. Hang on. Totally was not prepared for any of this. I was just going to be on for 5 minutes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a little discombobulated at the moment, but that's just because I have projects everywhere. So a while back, in 2018, I believe, I did this picture in an art journal that I actually took it out of the art journal. This is the original painting done by me. It's done in acrylic on watercolor paper. So when I was going through some things and resorting, and I had just started slow stitching and, rearranging things a couple of times, as we have all done because of what's going on in the world, I decided, would be a really big challenge to turn this into a slow stitch. I wonder what it would end up looking like. And I wonder how it would turn out. So I like the way that turned out very much. So there is no complicated stitches on there. It's all about fabric placement and color, stitches and things for texture. This is what can happen when you do slow stitching. So we are going to be doing some of this, and we're going to start with this one, because this one will be much easier than a face. So that will be alive. And honestly, that's why I was doing this test today, because we're going to be probably doing that first. My zombie dolls, Sue, is that what you're asking about? If you're asking about the zombie dolls, the original idea was from a zombie doll kit. Oh, thanks, Sue. Yeah, fun fact, I am an author. I do have a book on Amazon. If you go put my name in over there, it shows up. You can get a printed version or an ebook version. I also am a stencil designer, and I have a line of rubber stamps. And there is more fun stuff coming soon I can't talk about. If you're talking about the zombie dolls, so originally the zombie dolls were from a kit. Again, I found at the thrift store before this whole thing got started. I had gone to the thrift store with my husband. I always look in the kids' art department because you just kind of never know what you're going to find, right? Sometimes you just want to get a Scrabble game because you want the tiles to do mixed media stuff on. I found this zombie doll kit. This is the book out of the kit. I really didn't make anything out of the book. I started out using her basic shapes and then just went, sideways with it. And we started out with doing, where is she? She's probably at the bottom. Miss Coronavirus. And I've labeled them all on the back. And this one is Misinformation. Miss Frontlines. Mistaken Faith. Miss Stay Home. Mr. Shut Your Mouth. Mr. Stay Safe. This one's cute because I didn't know if I could do this one, and I had so many extras of these, I kept them. Mr. TP Shortage. I have lots of extra TP. And Mr. Wash You Hands. So one of my next things I'm going to do, and we may do it as a live, I need to make a box to put them all in. I want to make, and I know it's sort of more, I know it's a little bit morbid, but I want to make a coffin-shaped storage box. And I do have a couple of more ideas for zombie dolls to make. But they started out as being inspired by the kit that this book came from. And she does have some good ideas for little zombie dolls in here. So I would kind of recommend it. You can find it on eBay. And I know I've seen different versions of it occasionally on Amazon. Thank you so much. I'm glad you all love them. What emails when you go live? How do we get on your email list? So, Cookie, so one thing you can do is make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel and click that little bell icon for notifications. And if I go live, you should get a notification that I'm going live. Also be a member of my Facebook group, A Life of Art and Self-Expression, if you do Facebook, because I will be posting it there before I go live. I'll also be trying to schedule them out, which you can do. I was just honestly clicking on things to try to figure out how to do this and navigate the new system at YouTube, because I haven't done this since 2017. The author is, who is the author? Let's see. It's called Gorgeously Gruesome Zombies. It's from Paragon Books. It doesn't say. That's funny. Edition published by Paragon Books Limited out of New York. Designed by Pink Creative. Illustrations by Yuma Guma. Project managed by Francis Pryor Reeves. That's what all it says on here. It's from Paragon Books. I do have a MailChimp mail list. I hesitate to have you sign up on that because it's long since I don't post on it that much. You can also friend me over on Facebook or find me on Instagram or Twitter. And what I'll be doing is trying to put out some kind of blast everywhere. Hey, I'm going live. The zombie dolls are, for me, they started out as a way to work through all the craziness that's been going on, right? So, yeah, that's been a good thing. It was very therapeutic. Just like the slow stitching is very therapeutic. Anything you can just get lost in. And making the toilet paper rolls for Mr. TP Shortage was Funny because I get a lot of questions about that. So I just took a thin piece of brown paper, and it was honestly the kind of paper that you mask off when you're painting. So I took a thin piece of that brown paper, rolled it up into a tight, like a straw, glued it, and then I wrapped it in a couple layers of paper toweling and glued that. And then I let it dry, and then I cut it up into, little toilet paper rolls. Listen, there's enough. So we've already been on over an hour. Wow. So there's enough craziness going on in the world and on on YouTube and in the creative community. One thing I want to do is encourage us to support each other, to talk about it if you need to vent if you need to, find creative ways to work through the process of what's going on if you need to, and just be very, you use our creativity as a therapeutic process. I think that's a good thing, and that's definitely what I've been doing. And picking up new and different kind of art forms keeps me occupied, helps me not be stressed, and it's never bad to learn a new thing. See, yeah, felt zombie dolls on Pinterest. You can use any, and you could use any doll pattern. In fact, you know what? If you had an old gingerbread cookie cutter, you could trace that and use that as your pattern. If you have an old damn it doll pattern, it's just a basic doll shape made out of felt. Now, I do like working with wool felt, and I had a stash of it from, way back in the day when I was doing Christmas ornaments and stuff. I hung on to it for whatever reason. Now I know, because I wanted it for making zombie dolls. I did label all of them on the back. And at some point, I'll put them in a coffin shaped box that, maybe we might do it here on YouTube. And then I'm planning on putting a note in the box and then just putting the whole box in a corner somewhere for, the grandchildren to find someday. Pinterest is a great source for ideas and inspiration. You don't have to copy, of course, the other artists or creatives' work, because that's not okay, but you definitely can be inspired by it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so a damn it doll is a great basic pattern, and you know what? A damn it doll is also very therapeutic. And if we've all done the craft show circuit back in the day, we've probably made damn it dolls. But that's a great just basic pattern. If you have sort of a gingerbread dolls type pattern, that's, you can find any of those probably for free online, and then just size it to the size of doll that you want. Now, these dolls are about 6 inches by 5 1/4. So they're about 5 1/4 wide by 6 inches tall. And I had googly eyes, and I had a lot of embroidery thread. Anybody recognize what this on his stethoscope is? That's the inside to a broken pair of earbuds. Because I have trouble throwing anything away. Exactly. And just start a couple of inspiration boards, categorize them, if you will. Gingerbread man shape is the perfect shape for those. Yeah. And I just used whatever stuffing I had laying around. Or if you don't have any stuffing, cut up fabric scraps that you're not going to use for slow stitching. And in the dressmaking and costuming world, they call it cabbage, which is cute. That's cute. Just cut them up into small pieces and use it to stuff your doll. If you really want to be therapeutic about it, you could put some of, take whatever subject matter your doll is having to deal with, in this case, Miss Coronavirus, write on a little piece of paper your really frustrated, angry, anxiety-driven thoughts about it. Write it down, let it go, stuff it inside the doll, and sew it up. And just let it go. We've been on for almost an hour and 15 minutes. So I think I'm going to call it a day unless y'all have some more questions because, I ain't got nowhere else to be. So if you want to keep chatting, we can do that. But yeah, I think the next live that we're going to do, we are going to do this. So you can find a picture that you want to do. Keep it simple. You're going to need 3 photocopies of said picture. If you want to play along, you're going to need 3 of them. And I think we'll do that next week. And we might do Tuesdays. So for the slow stitch, you're going to need some fabric. Besides the 3 photocopies, you're going to need some thread, some needles, some scissors, and some fabric. So what fabrics really depends on you. I like stitching on a base layer of either cotton batting, which is what this is. I think in Europe and the UK, you call it cotton wadding. This here sounds like Amazon's outside. Or I like working on a piece of felt. I mean, wool. Felted wool. Holy cow. Corona brain. So remember we were talking about going to the thrift store for fabric supplies. So one of the things I like to when I can, and I especially if I know that they're having like a sale on, sometimes they'll be wanting to clearance out a bunch of clothes or stuff. So going to look for wool sweaters, wool jackets, wool suits, and then take them home and wash them in super hot water and stick them in the dryer. They're going to shrink, they're going to felt up, and you're going to get some kind of wool fabric that's nice to stitch on. Now, that being said, there is a couple of Etsy shops that you can buy wool scraps from, and that's where I've been getting them because I haven't been able to get to the thrift store too much. But wool, a piece of nice, you can also do canvas or an old, I have a couple pieces of old quilts that fell apart. Some sort of decent fabric for the base. When I'm doing the meditation journal, I just use a thin piece of cotton, but it's not as big and intricate of a piece. So for these bigger pieces, I like to use something a little bit more substantial for the base. And then whatever fabrics you think you want to use to create your image, keeping in mind that we're going to be doing some layering. So you want some of them, like on this face here, you can see that there's some lace on there. This is ice dyed cheesecloth from one of my friends that she sent me from Canada. There is some lace. There's some old bridal lace. There's a lot of stitching. There's some cotton. So you just need a selection of fabrics and threads and your image. And then, of course, needles and scissors. How do you keep your studio so neat? Oh, boy. So for me right now, this isn't neat. So some things y'all should know about me, especially if you're new to my channel. I'm almost 60 years old, not quite. I've got a couple years yet, but I'm asthmatic, which is a later in life situation. I have anxiety disorder, and I'm obsessive compulsive. So things can be out like they are here, but they need to be in piles where it's easy for me to find things. Otherwise, I'm not okay with that. And while my house isn't anything sterile by any stretch, I'm not a minimalist at all. And it's not completely clean. You will find dog hair in the occasional corner. It is pretty clean. 3 out of 4 of mine. Oh, on the supplies. But for me in the art room specifically, Cookie, if things get too messy and discombobulated, then I literally can't be creative. It stifles me. So I think I usually have to work on a project or have a place like with the watercoloring that's back here, because we're working on the 30 and 30, where things can be pushed off to the side and be in a controlled space so that I can keep working. If it gets to be too bad, it literally stifles my creativity, and I can't. I have to stop and clean. And the cleaning and purging thing for me it's a constant, like a churning process for me. And it's just become part of my creativity. Even with the slow stitching over here, you can't really see it because of the lighting on camera, but over here in this corner, that's fabric. And there's a lot of it right now on the table, but it's neatly in rows. And things are semi-neat in piles over here. And the only reason the books are here, these books, is because I had books that just came in. I'm not one of these people that can't work in a space that's too messy. I just can't. Oh, 3 out of 4. Oh, the physical things. Yeah, as I have asthma. That was a work situation. I was exposed to something at a job that the short story is the result is now that I have asthma. And, as we get older, along with everything else going on in me, didn't need the asthma, but it is what it is. What are you going to do? So I have to. I've kind of been, when I was diagnosed with some of these things like the anxiety disorder and the obsessive compulsive issues, all my mom had to say when I talked to her about it was, "Oh, yeah, you've always had that." Back in the 1960s, they didn't know what to do with you, and they didn't diagnose things the way they did now. And all my mom knew was that if I did arts and crafts and kept busy, then it was easier for me to focus. So she right away, with the help of my aunts and my grandmothers, knew to give me a pen and a paper and crayons or some needlework or something, and it just to keep me focused. Mindful is the New Skinny. No, I haven't read that one. I have read a lot of mindfulness books, but I haven't read that particular one. Fun fact, besides doing art, the other thing I love to do is read. I read every day. Yeah, this is the most it's been in a while. I'm trying to use up some resin over here. So there's resin out right there. We're working on the 30 and 30 project, so that's there. Otherwise, it would just be the table because I can't. I mean, this morning when I came in here before I did this, I had to clean off the ironing board because there was just stuff all over it. You're welcome. It's part of my YouTube channel to be honest about who I am and not put on airs or try to be somebody I'm not. I'm not one of those YouTubers that when you meet me in person, I'm a different person. I'm the same as you see on camera. I don't see the point in trying to be something else. And to be honest with you, I couldn't remember all the lies I told you. So I couldn't ever keep them straight. So there's just no point. I'm a bad liar. I can't do that. All right, so we will be back at some point. We've been on now almost an hour and a half. I think we're going to go now because now I do need to clean up my desk because I've moved some of the stuff that was over here to the computer desk, and y'all can't see it, but now I can't see. Here, wait. So now the edge of my computer desk looks like that. That's going to make me crazy. Yes, we do. We are the people that I found that I really enjoy in the YouTube and Facebook art community are the same. We are just us. We love creativity. We use it as a therapeutic process. We love sharing with each other thrifty ways to use what we have or buy things affordably. So one thing I don't do on my channel anymore, no more hauls. No more hauls. It's really super rare that I'll do one. I don't do videos anymore that are because somebody sent me a product. I turn down those kind of things anymore because it's not about what kind of supplies that you have. It's about just being creative and using things creatively, and you don't have to have a big budget for that. It can just be, thrift store stuff, cutting up an old shirt that you have in the closet that you never wear, whatever. So yeah. I will let you all know in social media somewhere when I'm going to do the next live. I'm having a little dental work done tomorrow, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with the teeth. That's, as you get older, it's not if they find something wrong, it's when, right? Anyway, it's nothing huge this time, thank God. I don't think, but I won't make a promise to do another live until next week. but I will be doing another live. And when I do, I will be posting it on social media. I definitely will be scheduling it ahead of time. So you guys should get a notification. So make sure you're not only subscribed to the YouTube channel, but that you can click the little bell icon. And I want you all to stay safe, stay healthy, stay creative always, and go out and do something nice for yourself because you deserve it always. All right. Bye, guys. If you have any more questions that I didn't answer or something that I missed, catch me over on Facebook and I will be happy to answer them. See you later. Bye, guys.